What's going on? Welcome, everyone. We only have a couple comments. Let's go. Let's go. Come on in. Right when you come in, it's just dropping comments time. That's all you do. You come in, boom, comments on the face. Drop them down. Welcome to episode 920, Beaches. What's up, team? What's up? What's up? What's up? Getting your Swolga in. Wise. Good choices. Good choice on a Monday. The Swolga, yes. The Swolga, making sick fucking gains. Making gains. Getting swole. Making gains. Making sick fucking gains. Oh. Nothing like sick fucking gains, yeah. The only kind of gains that I want. Sick fucking gains. Sick gains. Sick fucking gains. It's the only kind of gains I want. Like the gains. Like the gains. Like the gains. You are the only one. You are the only one, Shane. Only Schwan. There's no silence here. We are live. Time to share the podcast, everyone. Hit the share button. Way more people should be watching this. Unfucking acceptable. It's cool. I'll wait. Always a loading screen. Always. Always a loading screen, always, because people don't get their fucking alerts and they're lazy and they don't hit the enter button when they see the alert at the top of their fucking screen. Muscle Monday core horror coming up right now. Muscle Monday, bitch.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping,
yes.
The bacon is sizzling.
Oh, yes.
Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome. Testing. What up, fuck nuggets? Testing. Testicles. Welcome, everyone, to episode 920 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Gaincast, Mancast, Pimpcast, Sleevescast, Slaycast, Muscle Monday cast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex. We all flex our biceps. What is going on, yabooshes? What is going on, yabooshes, yabeeshes? What is the dealy yo? Welcome to episode 920. 920. And we are going to do a little Muscle Monday. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to show you some things on the 3D. I'm not going to do a lot of that. We're going to talk core today. So if you have core questions, y'all fuck nuggets can drop some core questions. We're talking about the core, and I want to remind all of you what the core actually is, because it is always fascinating how few people, or what people actually think of when they think of the core. Most people don't have the faintest idea when they say they want to work on their core, when they want to strengthen their core. Most people don't know what the heck the core actually is. So Papa Swolio, as per usual, I am taking responsibility to explain what the core is and how to properly train it. And of course, we're going to talk about how to train the core, but we're going to express some different exercises and the different approach and the proper approach on how to train your core. So thank you for joining me live. Remember, it's Swolenormous everywhere. So no matter where you're watching, you could always catch the video. You can catch the breakdown Facebook stays on the timeline. You can check it out, Daily Swole Podcast on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube at Swolenormous, Instagram at Swolenormous, Swolenormous everywhere. And if you're interested in taking the tour of all the programs and nutritional content, you can go to Swolenormous X. That's the letter X, swolenormousx.com for all the deets and all the stuff on the master classes and the upcoming stuff. Fam, we had a great, in the private community in Swolenormous X, we had our accountability meeting today. We had our State of the Swole. And remember, for everyone that's a member, remember if you're a member. Oh, that's very repetitive. Remember if you're a member that this Thursday is the new release party for a bunch of new content dropping in Swolenormous X. So we're going to break it all down this Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So those of you that are already in Swolenormous X, you can expect that on Thursday. So a lovely announcement. Would love to learn more about this. The posterior chain. Well, the posterior chain is the core. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Don't overthink. You know what I get a lot of? I get a lot of questions from people that are aspiring fitness professionals or people that kind of have a little bit too much knowledge in their brain. It's always interesting how overcomplicated people make fitness, how overcomplicated people make training. And there's a lot of I think, too much information out there. I think there's too much information on fitness. I really do. I think there is good information, and there's also good information that's just not necessary. I want to start off this episode kind of talking about that. You can read all the books you want. You can research all this time under tension. You could read all about like balance and corrective exercises and upper cross, lower cross, posterior chain. You could do all this stuff and still not have the faintest fucking idea of what you're talking about, what you're doing, how to do it. You still might not have any results from it. So what's most important is you take the most fundamental approach possible and you execute. You actually take action. There's a lot of research going on, a lot of reading, a lot of commenting, a lot of looking, a lot of talking. But the more questions I get, the more I realize that people just aren't doing the shit. They like to talk and discuss and debate and ask, but it's about applying. So it's great to have information. And again, I will keep on saying this. It's great to have information, but it's useless if you don't use it. So all this stuff is great, but if you're not doing anything about it, then it's all for naught. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed with information. That's why things like yoga, things like basic just yoga covers so much. It's so easy. Instead of breaking down all these different corrective exercises, we'll talk about core today, all this stuff about the core. If you start practicing yoga, you're going to hit all that shit. You're going to get all that. You don't have to do boring corrective exercise. Depends on what you want, right? Depends on where you want to take it. Depends on your personal situation, but everyone's going to benefit from yoga. Every single person on this planet will benefit from yoga. Really, everyone's going to benefit from yoga. There's no situation where it's that's bad for you, unless you have like an acute injury, right? Like you're just bleeding profusely, you have an open wound, you're bleeding out. Maybe yoga's not the answer. But really, in terms of like a fitness standpoint, everyone can benefit from yoga. I don't really know any instance, unless you have a direct contraindication. Like if you do this, you will have massive hemorrhaging. Like in extreme situations, maybe someone shouldn't be doing yoga, but everyone should be doing yoga. That's just an across the board benefit. Strength, mobility, peace of mind, stress management, active recovery. It's great for strength. It's great for cutting. It's great for bulking. It's just great. And that solves a lot of these problems, all the issues that people have, right? A lot of the things that we talk about here on the podcast can just be solved by just attacking your yoga practice and starting your yoga practice and applying that. And it's amazing. You can talk, you can debate, you can research, you can look and read blogs. It's about doing it. It's about doing it. It's really about doing it. And you have to learn to love it, learn to love the process of it, learn to love something that challenges you. It's not going to be easy. Yoga is very challenging, especially when you start. There's different types of yoga. There's different instructors. There's different styles. You can do all sorts of different things with a yoga practice. And most people don't even start, but they'll debate whether they should start yoga. Oh, they should talk about their flexibility. They'll ignore yoga, but then they'll talk about how they have shoulder pain or knee pain. Or it's like, yeah, absolutely. Fucking start doing what's actually going to make a difference. So rather than reading, learning, studying, getting degrees, fucking put into practice. Just start doing it. start doing it. And yoga really will get all this. So the core horror episode is really to reinforce what the core actually is. So what I'm going to do in a couple moments, I'll bring up the 3D model just to show you what it looks like. And the core, just in verbiage, is literally from the pelvis to the cervical spine. That's all it is. It's the center of your body. It's your body without your head, arms, and legs. That is the core. All right. Most people think the core is just the abs. Well, a strong core is the lumbar region. It is that abdominal region, but that's not what the core is. That's just part of it. That's the abdominal cavity. That's the abdominal region. So what I want to talk about is not so much, okay, that area, that superficial little circle under your tits and above your PP or your vajayjay, right? Is that what we're calling it now? Vajayjay, your clam, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call the innie, okay? The weenus, well, the weenus is the elbow skin, but you know what I'm talking about, the wee-wee. Your private parts, okay? That area, this is all your core. I mean, everyone wants to look at the six-pack, right? That's what the core that people want to refer to. If you want to develop your core, most people think, hey, I want to see my abs. But we know that your body fat measurement, seeing your abs, seeing your core, seeing your six-pack is a lot more than just doing crunches. It's a lot more than just doing abdominal exercises. And I do not like saying, I hate that saying. I hate the stuff. I hate the 80-20, right? Your fitness is 80% nutrition, 20% exercise. Hate it. What I also don't like is the whole abs are made in the kitchen shit. I hate that because no, they're not made in the kitchen. You have them. You can develop your abdominal muscles like any other muscles. They're not going to get huge and massive like your biceps can or your chest can, but your fat management, your stress management, your hormone levels, your overall nutrition, your overall health, yes, it will relate to how much you can see your abdominals. And it's a very strange thing, isn't it? It's a very strange thing to desire to have little body fat around the stomach so we can see some squares. It's a very strange thing that we have going on. It's some evolutionary thing that must mean, okay, someone's strong. If they're strong in the center, they're powerful and they can attack and they just are a species or a person that we want to reproduce with. There's some like evolutionary thing with abdominals. It's a very weird thing to want to see. It must be in our DNA that it looks like strength or it looks like power or it looks like someone that can thrust and inseminate people well, right? I don't know. I mean, there's got to be some kind of like deep-rooted desire or deep-rooted thing when it comes to abdominals because it's a very arbitrary thing. Oh, there's a little bit of body fat there and we could see some squares. Oh, that person's in shape. I think where it really exposes itself is that not so much that abs are meaning that you're healthy, but if you have body fat there, we know that that's generally an unhealthy situation because certain hormones will tend to store body fat there. If you're stressed out, if you're eating in excess, your body will tend to store nutrients around the stomach and the thighs because the organs, the things that your body needs to promote, to keep alive, to keep functioning well, are in that area. It doesn't make sense for your body to store fat in the feet because if your body needs it, what's it going to do? Try to break it down in the toes and then send it back up? No, it's going to keep it right around the waist, right around the stomach, right around the liver, the pancreas, the spleen, the intestine, everything where it would need to absorb the nutrients. It's going to absorb it there in the small intestine, right? So it keeps all the fat localized so it can get the stuff when it needs it. And that's what fat is. Fat's money in the bank. Your body wants to store energy. And there are certain things that will keep your body storing energy more. And we want to minimize that because we generally don't want to store extra body fat in those areas. And that has a lot to do with genetics, how we are predisposed to storing fat. It has to do with stress hormones like cortisol will tend to store fat in the midsection and the thighs. But that's where you're going to store fat. You're not going to have fat arms and shredded midsection. You never see anyone that's like abnormally shredded in one area and then just absolutely out of shape in another. You never see someone that has like shredded completely, like shredded to the bone and just the most ridiculously, overblown, like obese legs. You don't see these like, huge and like just overweight upper body and just shredded to the bone musculature in the lower body. It's systemic. It's overall. And your hormone balance, your stress management, again, that's why yoga is so important. But with the core, that's why your body puts that stuff there. When we talk about core, we're also thinking not just, okay, the middle of the body. I just established that the core, and I'm going to bring up right now. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Here we go. Right here, we got the core. All right. Dun, 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 dun. We'll call this person Rufus. All right. We'll call the skeleton Rufus. All right. This is Rufus. Hey, Rufus. Everyone say hi, Rufus. Hello. So this is the core. The core is this whole region right here. So I'm zooming in. Right from like the bottom of the screen, right from about like the pelvis, the hips, all the way to the cervical spine, right at the top, like to the base of the neck, pretty much. Neck region. So all of this minus the arms and the legs, and conveniently Rufus doesn't have any arms and legs here. If you're watching on Instagram, you can't see it. So if you want to, you can go and watch on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. Highly recommended. Then you can see the display. So this is the core, and I'll rotate it. You can see the sides, you see the back, and these are all the muscles. So you can see how much is going on with the core. And you also see half the skeleton doesn't have any muscles on it. You don't see those superficial muscles. And the main reason why this is important is because the core is much more than just, okay, it's the center of the body. And I'll say over and over again that it's not just the abdominal region, it's everything. But the core is even more importantly inside. It's more importantly deep. So it's not just the superficial muscles, it's also the muscles that are deep inside. And that's where you need to be focusing your attention. That's where you need to be focusing your attention. That's the way you need to think about your core musculature. It's these things inside. So if I zoom in here, you can see right inside, this is a diaphragm. So I'll highlight it. So right here, you can see the diaphragm. Let's get under it a little bit, right? So you see that's the respiratory muscle. So when the diaphragm flattens, it increases the volume in the thoracic cavity, and then the lungs will expand because when you increase the volume, you decrease the pressure, and then air rushes in, blah, blah, blah. That's how respiration works. Yay, yay, yay. Okay, so I'm not going to give you a whole anatomy class right now, but that's how your body breathes. The diaphragm flattens and changes the volume in the cavity, which changes the pressure, which allows air to rush in because the pressure momentarily changes to be less than atmospheric pressure, so air just kind of comes in passively. And that's very amazing because, you know, it's such a subtle change that allows our lungs to inflate but not explode. So there's a very subtle balance with how we came to be on this earth. And it's very actually very, very, very fascinating, to be honest. So this whole body, or this whole region, the inside is what we really want to pay attention to. So if we go down here to the pelvic floor area, I don't know if I can go inside it like that. All right, so you see that little hole down there. There are a lot of muscles, and I'll go underneath. These muscles right here, you see the little butthole? Yeah, Rufus's butthole. So all these muscles down here, the pelvic floor muscles, right? All these muscles in this region, the pelvic floor, you see right here the piriformis, the deep external, no, that's not piriformis. These are pelvic floor muscles. Iliococcygeus, levator ani, so these are like the butthole muscles. Right? These are deep, and this is not the levator, the other ones I was going to talk about. So these are the sphincter muscles, but these are just, you know, multifidus. These are also just pelvic floor muscles. So all these ones inside are important. I talk about Kegels and I joke about that kind of stuff, but it's real. All these muscles here on the inside, then you have like the hip flexor muscles, you have all these muscles here in the front, the ones that are deep. So like in this little cavity in here, in that little hole right there, those muscles that attach onto the pelvis, that attach onto the base of the spine, all those provide strength and integrity inside our body. That is the key about the core. It's not so much, oh, well, the chest is technically the core. Yes, technically. And I know when people ask about the core, it is the abs. When people say, I want to strengthen my core, and that's what blows my fucking mind. When someone says they want to strengthen their core, all they're saying is they want to see their abs. That they think, oh, I'm trying to strengthen my core. First off, you don't know what the hell the core is. And second off, you just want abs. You think strengthening your core means getting abs. And that's where you have the generic people that just say, oh, I want abs. And then you have the people that know the actual terminology and realize that most people are just full of shit. They just want to see something. Most people just want to see six-pack. Most people just want to see the abs. So when they think strengthening their core, I want to work my core. Do you have a good core workout? They are thinking, I want to see a six-pack. And that's really not the most important thing that they should be focusing on. Most people that actually train their core properly and focus on these internal muscles actually get a flatter stomach, and with proper nutrition, overall training, will see their abs and will see their six-pack. If you just do crunches and trying to get that superficial muscle, you will fall short more often than not. And it's the same thing with kind of like a, from a business standpoint. If you pursue, like in your life, if you just pursue money, a lot of times you either won't get money or you won't be satisfied when you get it. And it's a very unfulfilling goal to just pursue financial gain. If you try to create kindness and you try to help other people, that's very fulfilling. And usually money comes when you're doing the right thing. Money comes when you are pursuing, or enough money will come when you are enjoying your life, when you are pursuing your passion, when you're helping others and you're adding to this world, right? And it's kind of like the opposite, and it's kind of like the same concept. If you're just pursuing abs, like I just want to see a six-pack, you're going to cut corners, you're going to look for fat burners, you're going to crunch until you pass out, you're going to do all these things that won't really get you abs. And then when you eat healthy, you practice yoga, you're meditating, you're trying to balance your stress, you're on a good strength training program, you're working your core properly, you're doing a lot of things like planks, you're working these intrinsic muscles, these internal, these deep muscles that are inside the body that you can't even see here. When you work those, you'll flatten your stomach, you'll support your core, you'll support your organs, you'll support your spine, and your physique will improve, and you'll see your fucking abs. So if you approach your core training the right way, you'll get those results. You'll get the end result, but most people just want the quick fix. Most people just want to see, look at this. You see this fascial tissue? You see this like this white, right? You see all this, they call this the obliques, but we're talking about like, I'm just talking about the abdominals. So right here is, you have the abdominal insertion here, or origin. They don't really know where it starts and where it ends. But this whole center region is just that. It's just the external. It's just the outer portion. But you can have abs and not have a strong core. Isn't that interesting? All right. You can have abs and not have a strong core. That's the crazy thing. You can have a six-pack and have bad form. You can have a six-pack and have a lower back arch. You can have excessive extension in your lower back. That's possible. That is absolutely possible for you to have too much of a lower back arch and still have a six-pack. So what you want to be doing is balancing out your core, but working it from the inside out. Okay, working it from the inside out. And that means the internal muscles, the ones that attach onto the spine. I'm going to bring the split screen up back right now. So right here, right? So you see this like lower back arch, and which is fine. That's normal. That's normal. It's normal to have that curve in the lower back. That's good. You do want to have a little bit of a lordotic curve, but you not at the expense of having too much. And these muscles that are inside, the muscles in here will actually tighten the transverse abdominus, and those muscles, yep, here's a transverse abdominus cross section here. Okay, so that muscle that's glowing, that's yellow, you see how it goes all the way around and attaches to the base of the lower back. When that muscle is tight, it produces support for the organs. It produces support around the spine. And that's important because imagine a basketball hoop, like a pole in the ground that either has concrete around it or sand. If it's sand, it's going to move around. There's a lot of movement. You don't want movement in the lower back. You want tightness. You want integrity. And when you have a strong transverse abdominus, for example, that's going to produce that integrity. That's going to provide support in the lower back. The lower back should just bend, flex, and extend. That's it. You shouldn't be getting rotation in the lower back. It's a stable area. You don't want a lot of movement. Where you do want movement is something like the thoracic spine. Okay, the thoracic spine allows for flexion, rotation, twisting. That's okay. But what happens is if you're sitting at a desk all day, if you're limited, if you're not practicing your yoga, you're not doing thoracic mobility exercises, the thoracic area gets very, very stiff. Your middle and upper back gets very, very stiff. And when that gets stiff, your body does not sacrifice movement for anything. It's still going to get movement. Your body is committed to getting movement. So what your body is going to do, it's going to start looking for movement elsewhere. If your thoracic spine isn't doing the job, it's going to look to the lower back to try to get some movement. And that's why people start bulging and herniating their discs, because when you lock up an area that's supposed to be mobile by sitting at a desk, by not practicing yoga, by not doing mobility exercises, your body is going to find detours. Okay? Your body is going to find detours. So things like the transverse abdominus and training those internal muscles are extremely important. Now, the best way to do that, the best way to train those internal and those intrinsic muscles is to do things like a prone isoab, doing things like a plank. Most people do planks incorrectly. Most people will just hold as long as they can. That's not how you do a plank. Just because you're not touching the ground doesn't mean you're doing a plank properly. You have to make sure you're activating these core muscles. You have to make sure you are aligning the spine properly in order to activate the right muscles when you're doing a proper plank. And that's a stabilization exercise. And anyone can do that. You can do that on your knees. You can do that on one leg. You can do that with your arms extended more. You can progress it and regress it in so many different ways. The proper way to do the plank is to suck your stomach in, squeeze your butt, get that posterior pelvic tilt, and be squeezing your glutes the entire time, not your quads, not your arms. You should be performing the plank properly and your body is aligned, right? Your head isn't dropped forward. You're not looking up. You're not looking down. People are always setting a timer on their phone and looking down, their head's dropping. If you're not retracting your neck, if you're not staying in alignment, you are not teaching your body to stabilize shit. That's where we have this drastic problem when it comes to training. Most trainers will have you doing planks. They'll have you jumping around doing planks. They'll have you doing all these stabilization exercises. Let me tell you something. A stabilization exercise does not mean do whatever the fuck you want on a Bosu ball or fancy dancing around, single leg, wobbling around. All these excessively fancy exercises you see on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. The goal of a stabilization exercise is to be stable. It's not to look like you're fucking a fish out of water. Anytime you see someone doing a stabilization exercise and they're shaking like crazy and they're all over the place, like really bad, they don't have control, they are not learning shit. They're not helping their body at all. If anything, they are training their body to get injured. They're training their body to be unstable. It's about creating the proper pathways and mapping these things in the right manner. If you train your body to be unstable and wobbling around, just because you're not falling over, just because you're not touching your other leg on the ground, does not mean that you're teaching your body to be stable, does not mean you're improving your balance. Your body is only improving balance if you have control over the movement. A little wobbling is okay, like a little bit of like shifting. Okay, you're challenging yourself. But if you're falling all around and your ankle's going like crazy and you're balancing and you're shaking and you're all over, it could be too challenging for you. You're trying to teach your body to have control. You're working within your parameters. And there's so much of a pressure with high intensity training, group exercise classes, all these like HIIT workouts you'll see online. It's all about just moving nonstop and sweating and feeling exhausted afterwards. It's a challenge. It's a 6-week challenge, a 30-day challenge. It doesn't have any like proper foundation. A lot of people just really like to throw out these things that are challenging. And just because it feels hard doesn't mean it's getting you the results that you want. And when it comes to corrective exercise and activating the core muscles properly, it has to be done absolutely on point because remember, you're teaching your body. You are retraining your body. And that needs to be done absolutely with precision. Just a stop sign on Instagram. Joined the military about a year ago. And lost 60 pounds since then. Now I'm trying to bulk. Cool. And you put me on to yoga and meditation, and I've never felt better. I love it. You're practicing it. You're practicing. Thank you for putting into action. Much respect. And look, and you have the results to show for it. Never felt better. Love it. I think anyone that's in the military now has been. Most people are injured when they come out of the military. I can't tell you how many people are a part of Swolenormous X and are part of this community that just get so banged up from their service. And again, thank you for your service. And just so many people are just, you know, because you're running, you're doing all this stuff with all the packs on. It's fucking brutal what you have to do, but you have to be prepared for that. You have to carry that kind of shit when you're in the field and everything. And it's just people always come out. It's like for football, military, everyone just gets banged up. But yoga cures and helps so many of those things. Trisha on Facebook. I have questions about too. What do you have questions about? I'd also like to be able to sneeze and not worry about peeing myself. What? I'm assuming that pelvic floor, what? Sneeze without peeing yourself? I must have missed the context on that one. What the fuck is going on here? Sneeze without peeing. You should probably go pee more often. Don't hold it in. Don't hold it in. I missed whatever comment came before that, obviously, if that's out of context, because I don't know what is going on there. But I'm curious. I want to know why you pee yourself. I like to know. I want to know. Yeah, awkward. Jennifer Brown posted a question. Okay, well, I don't see it, so. After having kids, you pee when you sneeze after having kids? Well, there's a point for not having kids ever. Put that in the no kids column. I'm just fucking around. I had a lot of caffeine today, and I'm also drinking some espresso right now, so I'm lit. I'm litty after having kids. Anyway, all right. So anyway, yeah. Oh, I'm not a female, and I've never had kids personally, so I don't know the effects of that. You mean there's like weakness in the pelvic floor? Kegels and those things really do work. But yeah, I mean, you can tighten all those muscles. You can tighten those muscles up. You can strengthen those. Exercise to strengthen her pelvic floor. Cool. Sucking the stomach in, Kegels, squeezing your little taint muscle, right? Squeezing your puss muscles. That actually works. Those help. They have those things, right? They have those like Kegel trainers, right? The balls you put in there and you squeeze like the rubber and you actually squeeze them. Those things work. They do. There are a lot of muscles in the body. But that's also like really when we talk about doing the plank, that's what dudes are doing too. And that's what I'm talking about with the transverse abdominis and with the pelvic floor, with your glutes. So when you are in a plank, okay, your elbows are directly under your shoulders, your stomach is sucked in, you're squeezing your glutes, and you have that posterior tilt. Remember, we've talked about posterior tilt for those of you that are listening and not watching. So the posterior tilt is literally taking your hips and imagining that your hips are a bucket of water and then just pouring water out the back end of it. So you're essentially rounding your lower back. So when you're doing a plank, you are sucking your stomach in, you're squeezing your glutes like you're trying to crack a walnut between your butt cheeks, and you're tucking your pelvis under. And that will kind of round your lower back, will flatten it out more, but you'll feel a new type of shaking in your body. And that's just these stabilizer muscles like the transverse abdominis, the multifidus muscles, these pelvic floor muscles that are activating and they're being stimulated. So in a plank, if you're doing it properly, you're a lot of times going to shake or you're going to feel really awkward. It's not going to be in your quads. It's not going to be in your abdominals. It's going to be inside. It's going to be that instability because you are triggering these endurance type muscles. And the only way to hit these muscles is you can't like activate your multifidus. You can't just lift it like you're doing a bicep curl. You can't just shorten and lift and flex it. You have to put the body in a position in which those muscles will turn on by effect. And that's the alignment. That's why corrective exercise is so important, and doing it with perfect form is so essential. Is it necessary to do isolation core exercises? I feel mine with almost every exercise I do. Well, it depends on what you mean by an isolation core exercise. Doing activation exercise before training is great. Like doing a set of planks is great, properly before you exercise, right? You do your cardio, you warm up, you do a little yoga flow, you do a couple planks, do some hip bridges, single leg squats, single leg RDL, lateral tube walking. You do some nice slow push-ups, upward dog, downward dog, maybe some external rotations for your shoulder, prone press if you're doing upper body. Those types of things, activating the generally weaker stabilizers before you train for strength is fantastic. So whether you're doing a total body, upper, lower, push, pull, whatever kind of split, whatever workout you're doing, whatever exercise you're targeting, you should be firing these less than activated muscles, right? The gluteus medius. You should be firing the glutes because a lot of us sit too much during the day. You should be firing the middle and lower trapezius, the posterior deltoid, the rotator cuff, right? The posterior cuff. You should be activating all these muscles. And that's going to help balance for all these strength exercises. And it's just a matter of making it a habit. You don't necessarily have to have a day where you only do that. But again, that's why I encourage yoga, because yoga covers so many of these things in the natural flow of yoga. Not to mention you're working your breath, you're getting inversions, you're tying your upper and lower body together. It's active recovery physically and emotionally. there's so many benefits, which is why rather than just say, oh, do 3 sets of 10 and do this, like I have those things, right? Those of you that are in Swole Enormous X, you know, we have the glute activation exercise in that section. We have the shoulder awareness, all those different levels. Like I said, this week, I'm releasing level 3 of the shoulder awareness series. Those types of things are great for focused training and for, you know, focused exercises, you know, as a warm up, as like a rehab method. But, you know, yoga also just ties it all in, and it's just like a part of you just make it a part of your life. And it's a great multifaceted approach to helping your body physically and mentally, rather than just do 10 reps of this and do 1 set. And a lot of people just find that boring, which is why tell me if I'm wrong, a lot of you have had physical therapy in the past. When your insurance doesn't cover physical therapy anymore, what happens? They give you a packet, do these exercises, you're like, okay, and you go home, you don't do shit, and eventually the injury comes back because you don't follow through with it. Information by itself isn't enough. I could sit here every day, and I do. I love that. I could sit here every day. Well, I do. 920 episodes, and I know a lot of you have been listening to a lot of stuff that I talk about, and a lot of you that listen don't do a lot of the stuff that I talk about. Some of you do, and you get great results, right? The gentleman from the military that was saying, I've been doing yoga and meditation, it's a game changer. It is. And a lot of you that do listen, I'm fortunate that a lot of you actually take what we talk about here and put into practice. But if you do it, it works. But you have to do it. That's the only way it works. You know, and corrective exercises work if you do them. Yoga works if you do it. Strength training works if you, right? It's all a matter of what gets done. Either it gets done or it doesn't get done. So, and look, there's only so much, I know there's only so much time in a day, and oh my God, but you talk about so many things. I always whittle it down to the basics, the most important things. Like I'm telling you all this stuff about the core. I can go over so many different exercises that activate the glutes, right? Those of you that are in Swole Enormous X, we did the glute masterclass, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. But if you just whittle it down to focusing on yoga, that's why I promote that so much, because that gets your foot in the door. You start to feel better, and then you kind of want to feel better, right? Once you start exercising the right way with the right foundation, you're moving better. You have less pressure, less tension, less resistance when you move. You just feel better, and it's addictive. You want to feel even better. Oh, I feel great when I practice yoga. What does it do? What does it do when you're practicing yoga? And you're doing like corrective exercise and you start to feel better, or you're like, wow, I feel so great. Cool. Let me go back to what I was doing before. No, when you start feeling better, you get hooked. You're like, I want to feel even better. Man, I feel so good after practicing yoga for a couple of weeks. You don't just give up on it like, oh, that was great. I'm glad I did that. No, you're like, I want to do more. I want to feel even better. And a lot of you that are just coming into my content, you don't see that yet because you're just kind of getting your first taste of what I'm talking about. But if you ever pursue this type of approach the way we do here and in Swole Enormous X, you learn that, oh, I want more of this, because it's a very, I guess, all encompassing. It's a very holistic, it's the best way to approach your lifestyle. It's the best way to approach your habits. It's because everything, it's mental, it's physical, it's emotional. There's so many different aspects of fitness. And when you approach it from the right place and you work for balance and you start fixing the things that are fucked up that you've done wrong your entire life, you feel better, you perform better, then you're more consistent, you're more open-minded. And then if you're more consistent, you're going to get more results. And if you want a 6-pack, great. If you work with these initial touch points and you start putting this into practice, it's going to make you more consistent. It's going to give you the ability and the freedom to train harder, longer, more regularly, and you'll just keep on improving and improving and improving. And you work on these fundamental aspects of nutrition and you start seeing progress, and then you want more. So you keep on tweaking and adjusting and manipulating, and you get better and better and better. And then you look better and you feel better. It's like an avalanche. It comes. You know, the more you make it part of your life, then the easier it is to keep it going and to take it to the next level and take it to the next level and take it to the next level. Sneeze without peeing happens to women all the time. Not fun. I am going to do a survey. I'm going to ask every woman that I know about sneezing and peeing, because I'm a dude and I sneeze. I don't recall ever peeing when I sneeze, except like if I'm like holding in my pee and I really have to go and I sneeze. The worst is if you're already peeing. Oh, if you're already peeing and then you have to sneeze, it's like your dick is bleeding. I avoid that. Oh, just pinch it off and then sneeze and then continue. Or coughing or something. That's the worst. That's the worst. Yeah, the involuntary peeing, that's new to me, but I'm going to look into it. I'm curious. Now I'm curious. Yeah. Yeah, I do not envy anyone for having kids. Just more points in the column for never having children. It's just yikes. Worse, or I've heard of people that like tore their abdominal muscles, right? When you're reaching down in the closet, like if you're trying to reach for something, like reach, and you sneeze and those intercostal, you can really fuck up your body if you're in an awkward position. Well, I'm definitely not making fun of anyone that has that. Like I said, I'm not a woman that has had children, so I don't know all the different like ins and outs and all the issues from that, but it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, these pelvic floor exercise and those types of things, the Kegels and the prone and the planks with this proper like activation, sucking the stomach in, the draw and maneuver, these are important for everyone, but this is, again, it's very important for people that of all capacity, whether you've had children or not. So it's excellent for those of you that have had children. And you can't necessarily, I mean, if you have issues or you're missing parts of your abdominal wall in this, there's only so much you can do. And I'm sure everyone has their own specific limitations. But it doesn't mean that you can't pursue and make the best of it, right? I mean, because you still have a spine, you still have all these intrinsic muscles, you still have, these things that need to be stabilized. So it's a matter of reteaching your body what's important and how to do that. I have difficulty losing the love handles, stored fat. Okay. Yep, a lot of people do. You got to get on your nutrition game and your weight training game and your yoga game and your meditation game. Most people have issues with hormone imbalance, which tends to store fat in the love handles. So today we're talking about core stuff. Not so much getting a six pack, not so much getting rid of body fat. Today was more about core activation and the importance of training those internal muscles, right? Not the six pack, not the ones that you can see. However, by training, right? If you're sucking in your stomach, think of how you look in the mirror. When you suck in your stomach looks flatter, right? When you suck in your stomach, what is working is your transverse abdominus. When you suck your stomach in, you're actually contracting a muscle that is squeezing and pulling your organs and your tissue and your visceral tissue in, okay? And that creates pressure around the lower back, so it supports the lower back. It helps prevent things from happening, herniations and shit like that. And that stronger transverse abdominus will strengthen, like it will stay stronger naturally. That's why some people can stand there and their stomach looks more flat, because they have a stronger internal environment in their core. So sucking your stomach is actually an exercise, and you should be doing it when you're doing your planks, when you're doing those types of core activation exercises. Kids make you pee yourself, they pee themselves. It's just all bad. So what I've learned from this episode, what I've learned from this episode is that just when you have kids, there's just pee everywhere. That's essentially what it means. So I am convinced. That is, if I have learned anything from episode 920, it is that once you have children, there's just pee everywhere. All types of pee. Am I wrong? I don't know. I want a six pack. Nice. Cool. Colton, I hurt my back due to a lack of actual core strength. I fell into the camp of not thinking about the core being more than just a front. Never again. Wise man. Unfortunately, you had to learn that lesson the hard way, right? Well, a lot of times we come out of the darkness, right, into the light. And I actually posted a video. It's on Facebook and it's on Instagram, the one where I just posted today. When you don't want to go, right? When you don't want to go, that's when the discipline's created. When you don't want to go to the gym and you force that, where you just fucking go anyway, that's when you make the biggest change. Okay. And unfortunately, a lot of times it takes an injury or it takes pain. I'm the same way. It took like, maybe like chronic, like tendonitis, like knee pain, like, oh man, to realize I need to focus more on mobility. Anytime I feel any of those warning signs, remember, an injury or an effect is your body letting you know what's going on. It's your body letting you know what's going on. If my knee starts to act up, if I feel a little pain, It's because I know, okay, I'm sitting down too much. I'm training hard. I'm not balancing it out. I'm not doing enough mobility. So I back off, work a little bit more on mobility. Boom, goes away. It's listening to your body. It's paying attention. When you have an injury, your body told you something. When you have pain or tendonitis or inflammation, your body's telling you something. If you feel nauseous, you feel sick, you have a stomach ache, headache, your body is telling you something. It's not, oh, I have a headache, take a pill. It's, why do I have a headache? Am I stressed? Did I drink enough water yesterday and earlier today? And then fixing the problem, and then the effect will go away, right? I just want to be strong as fuck. What happens in the process, I'm okay with. I like it. I like it. 920, the episode of P and Core. That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like. But everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll get more into core training. We'll get more into all this stuff in upcoming episodes. I was excited to get back into Muscle Monday. A lot of people wanted to get back into Muscle Monday. So this was a broad Muscle Monday, a broad episode about the core. And then in future Muscle Mondays, we'll get more into specific muscle groups. We'll just make every Muscle Monday about training, about specific areas of the body, whether it's a specific muscle or muscle group, and we'll keep on crushing it. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for episode 920. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you do subscribe. The link is in my bio on Instagram. You can go to swolenormousx.com. You could take the tour of Swolenormous X. You can click on in the main menu, take the tour. You can check out the podcast link so you can subscribe on your favorite app. Make sure you go check out some previous episodes or other Muscle Mondays. You can scroll back a couple weeks and check those out if you're interested in some similar content to this one. And we'll get into this, as always, with more content in the upcoming days. So I will see everyone for episode 921 tomorrow of the most muscular Swolecast, Beardcast, Broadcast, Gamecast, Mancast, Pimpcast, and Sleazecast in the realm. Because when I flex, you flex. Oh, we all flex our biceps. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. Remember, Swolenormous X to be there for the masterclass for the new release party this Thursday. If you're interested in joining, more information on the masterclasses, the private community, and all my programs and check out swolenormousx.com. Peace, McGee's fam. Deuce Magoose, your boy Papa Swolio. Oh, 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 oh.